This trial, members of the jury, is about the most powerful human emotion, which is love. Shelby killed Jamie, Richard, Laura, and Nicholas, and it is the most horrific and inexcusable thing that he could do. And no family should ever have to suffer as his adult children who's been sitting here through this trial, or anyone else who loved the victims in this case. Why did it happen? I would propose to you that Shelby Nealy saw himself in a situation where he was going to lose custody of his children. He was going to lose his children after having killed his wife, the mother of his children, Jamie. What led to Shelby Nealy killing her? He's pled guilty to manslaughter. You know that. It's stipulated to. It suggests, I would say respectfully, that the facts were not so simple. They're not as Mr. Sarabia suggests. Rather, the story that Shelby tells when he's arrested in Ohio is probably the closest to the truth. That Jamie was having a psychotic moment. She was threatening him with a knife. She was threatening to kill his daughter. And after having been beat up again and again and again, he defended his daughter, he defended himself. Did he take it too far? He may have. But that's what happened, members of the jury. And there is evidence that's been presented to you in this case that supports that. You've seen evidence and heard witnesses testify from Ohio, from law enforcement members to people that Shelby worked with, right? And you heard about the behavior of Jamie. It's not about trashing Jamie. It's a terrible thing that happened, but we had to recognize that there is evidence that that in fact took place. The suggestion from Mr. Sarabia that Jamie was strictly just being a person who had no issues and no problems and never did anything violent to Shelby Nealy just doesn't make any sense. Shelby couldn't bear the thought of not being with them. Every horrific act that he did was so that in his mind he could get his kids and keep his kids because he couldn't bear the thought of being without them. When he kills Jamie, and we're going to talk about why and how to the extent that we can, right? But when he kills Jamie and he leaves and he lives a lie for almost a year and he puts on a facade that everything is okay, he can't talk to anyone about it. He can't tell anyone the horrible thing that he did because he's afraid. Was it the right thing to do? Of course not. Should he have gone to law enforcement, turned himself in? Absolutely. Should he have contacted his mom and dad and said, I did a terrible thing, please, I need help, what do I do? But he didn't. Instead, he lived a lie. That's the trauma that you heard about in this courtroom. That's the trauma that he is suffering during that time period because he doesn't know what to do. He's a young man. He's a young man who we know from the evidence, and you'll have medical records that you can look at, and I will talk about it here in a little bit. We know that he had traumatic brain injury at some point, potentially several times in his life. So I think it's important that we look at his life. And keep in mind, members of the jury, when you deliberate, when you go back into the deliberation room and talk about this case, you don't put your common sense aside, all right? You bring that with you. The law you will receive from the court. And I'll talk about some of those aspects of the law, but you do not leave common sense behind. So let's talk about Shelby Nealy's life. Born in August of 1993. You heard from his mother, Lisa, who's sitting here in the courtroom. She was on that witness stand the other day. She told you how she has a difficult time and has sort of pushed away the violence that she experienced when she was 17 and 18 years of age. She broke down briefly. She's stoic, strong, wants to be strong, but broke down briefly while she was recalling that violence. When she was recalling Shelby Nealy's father telling her that she's no good, telling her to crawl through broken glass while there was a gun at her head. And then grabbing Shelby Nealy from her arms, he's 10 months old, and taking him away from her. Mr. Sarabia will say, and you may say, well, he doesn't remember that. Well, we protect our children. Little children can sense when things are wrong. Little children can sense when things are not going as they should. Is it unreasonable that the reason, as his mom told you, that he seemed to have a fear of men until he finally was comfortable with his father, Paul, that may have something to do with Bobby? Absolutely. Now, Mr. Sarabia said, well, Bobby never did anything to Shelby. Well, there's no evidence that he did anything to Shelby. Although we don't know what he may have done when he left that house in a rage and took little Shelby from his mother. We don't know. There's a lot of unknowns. But what we do know is that Lisa Svensson hid out in Texas in 1993, in August of 1993. Her home state, where she had grown up, where she wanted to live. She was in hiding and then had to leave. Leaving the state of Texas, and in her head, in her mind, hearing the words of Bobby, you're no good, you're never going to amount to anything. Fortunately, she's done well. During the early years, we've heard that Shelby is taken care of by his grandmother in Ohio. Seems to be doing okay. And then things start going sort of in a rough direction. He's not listening. He has ADHD. He didn't get medication right away, but he's having behavior problems. There's no doubt about it. And it's causing problems at home, right? He ends up in relationships that are toxic. Now, Mr. Sarabia wants you to believe that the only reason it's toxic is because the only person who's toxic is Shelby Nealy. I would respectfully suggest to you that's not what the evidence is. That's not what was presented to you, members of the jury.